To my YouTube channel. So on today's episode, we're having a few of my colleagues come around to talk about the state of the nation and who they are going to be voting for and the reasons why the electorate has to vote come 2023 general election. Stay tuned. It's going to be a wonderful session. Thank you. So I'm going to be starting the question with Madam Jennifer. So please, in your opinion, what are the three biggest problems you think Nigeria is facing today?
Nigeria is currently facing so many problems, but in my opinion, I think we are currently struggling with the bad leadership, corruption, and our economy is nothing to write home about.
What are the issues that are most important to you personally at this time that you think any leader coming into governance now, taking over the end of affair of the country should immediately address?
For me, I would say education is number one, because education across all levels, not just university levels, but secondary, primary education. Because I think one of Nigeria's biggest problems is also poverty. Poverty beyond education, though, like poverty of the mind and everything. So, education, people need to get enlightened about everything that is happening, like how to get enlightened on their own without waiting for somebody to show them the way and all that. So education for me is one of the biggest problems we face in Nigeria across all levels. So it's also important for me. We go to schools. I've worked with a couple of NGOs, and you go to schools and you see the structures there. The honest truth is that those schools are just ways to take the children out of the house to somewhere while their parents go and fend for themselves and the family. Those are not avenues to learn. Those places are not. Nobody can learn in that environment and come up with it. You have to actually struggle to learn in those environments and come up with a bright mind, in my opinion. So education is really something important because it's a legacy beyond this particular government that will come into power. It's a legacy for a long time. So education.
So for you think the next president now should immediately make reforms in the educational sector?
Yes.
Okay. So that should be his priority.
No, but that's one of the. You said important. I can't say his priority should be that.
No, like I asked, I said what issues are most personal to you. So education is the most personal to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. My next question goes to Mr. Edward. Sir, I would like to ask, what do you presume your ethnic disposition and response to voting is? I want to believe you're from the South region of the country. So what do you presume your ethnic disposition is to voting?
For me, I'm from Delta State, and politics is a very major part. Politics is a serious matter in Delta State, And I think with this, I think from 1999 till now, politics have played very serious, parts in our lives in Delta State, and so voting. People in Delta State actually take voting very seriously. So very seriously.
When you say people, is it on a general note or just the villagers or the elites inclusive?
The villagers and the elites, at this point, every person in Delta State, not considering their tribe or their religion, every person in Delta State understands the fact that government make or mar their lives. The decisions that governments make, either by omission or commission, will determine their death or their life, and the fact that the will of government will determine the cleanliness of their water, the decision of government will determine the bursary they get from their schools. The person in charge in government is going to determine whether they're going to have roads or not. They have come to realize that it is not in the hands of local chiefs; it is in the hands of their governors. And so, of course, they are more. I think, debatably, my people from the Niger Delta part of the country, will be some of the most politically aware people in the southern part of the country.
Okay. Okay, just as a follow-up question, Mr. Edward, in your own opinion, do you think people in your local community choose their leader based on individual preference or party? Are candidates, voted for by party structure or just because they like that individual?
Now the thing is, let me ride on what Precious said concerning education, right? Voters education, electoral education. I don't know what to call it, voters education or electoral education. it's something that needs to be pushed into the local places, because from this question that you asked, a lot of times my people, especially those in the very local areas, want to vote, but their voting is determined by who comes to show love. Now whether they trust the person or not, as far as you make them feel like you got their back, they're going to come all out for you. And there is this hierarchy, aside the local government chairman, you also have community chairman and all of that, who lets them know, that these are the persons involved and all of that. And that is why some political parties cannot leave those areas. It is also based on who they have been used to. It's also based on who they have been used to. New political parties are going to always find it very difficult to penetrate local environments in my area, based on, aside the terrain, the very difficult terrain. It's very difficult for people to penetrate into those creeks and those very local areas. So at the end of the day, they are just going to work with what their fathers have worked with and what they are used to. But at the end of the day, is who shows them love. That's what they got.
Thank you so much, Edward.
There's something called geography of politics, and that means that certain areas are accosted to one particular system of people ruling them. For example, in Nigeria, we have states like Anambra being ABGA, Lagos being APC, Akwa Ibom and Rivers being PDP, because since the inception of democracy, that's how it has gone. And now, if in a state like Lagos State, I'm not calling any names or anything, in a state like Lagos State, if an APC candidate is brought out, or if an ABGA candidate is brought out in Anambra, even if the candidate is not competent enough, is who the system wants. And I think that has brought Nigeria as a nation back to a great extent, because in model countries that we are looking at and trying to be like, that's not how they play their politics. They play their politics on ideologies. You're either Republican or Democrat. You're either left wing or right wing. So I don't personally think that the way Nigeria is going about this ethnic disposition towards voting is right. It should be more of what you have to offer to the table and not what is popular in the current system.
Thank you so much.
That's why the education thing is.
Thank you so much, guys. It's getting interesting. Can you please describe the impact of the following? The impact the following I'm going to be highlighting have on decisions of people in your local community, that is the religious leaders. The impact they have.
All right, you can continue.
The impact, yes.
First of all, to add to what they've said, I kind of want to disagree with Bobby a little.
That's fine. Please.
The only thing we have in this country is swing states.
Okay.
I believe strongly that because of the federal system that we practice, governors tend to have their egos bruised when they lose their state, so they mobilize resources. It's not that the people have a one way. For example, we say Anambra is APGA. Their senator, one of their senators, I work in the Nigerian Senate. One of their senators is from YPP. He won 2 major Ubas, if you know the Ubas. He won 2. So it's not about the orientation of the people as per parties. It's about money, finances, what deployed. I remember then it was given at least a word, each word this in a car. And he has close to 40-something words, so you can imagine how that. So it was against, if you want to, I always tell my friends from Anambra that if I'm from Anambra, I will shelve my political ambition. Because the amount I would use to prosecute an election for an House of Assembly in Osun is the amount I will use to consult just a peer group in Anambra. It's that massive. Now going to and again, for me, I think the major problem we have in this country right now, from an insider view, is incompetence. Incompetence in that we now have a CBN governor that wants to be president while holding the key to the vault. We have an education minister that publicly declared that he has failed and he did not resign. We have how we moved from an additional as Minister of Agriculture to a nanono, that doesn't even go to his ministry. And everybody that served under this government is the longest serving. There is no punishment for bad behavior. Nobody sacks you. Nobody that does there. The longest serving CBN government, the longest serving transport minister, the longest serving service chief. So there's no punishment for bad behavior. So you find out that there are square holes in round pegs. There are round pegs in square holes. So incompetence reigns supreme. Now to your question, I think religious leaders, peer groups, and what is that? And personal interest. I think it now has to do with regions. For example, in the southeast, they operate on a cephalous system. No king can tell anybody anything. A young boy can come out in Anambra or Imo, apologies to anybody from the state, and say, I want to buy the palace. You can't try that in Osun. Even if the king is poorer than you. Your family they will send you to, I did not train you well. But that doesn't happen in the southeast. In the southeast, they wake up, hi dad, if I do that to my father, he would look at me as if I'm mad, So, respect to traditional leaders in Yoruba land is different. So if you really, and the people defer to them. There are some things the traditional leaders in my constituency will say and everybody follows through. The traditional leader in my constituency can say, don't support this person. Support this person and people will not follow. But if he says, I'm saying it, don't support this person, people will follow him. Because they call them in Yoruba, Igba Keji Orisha. They are the mouthpiece of the gods. They are like, after God is them. And so like the Oni of Ife, they are Alafin of Oyo and the rest of it. So you can't take out their place. That's why you see every presidential candidate goes to them. The most important for me is even the Oba of Benin. If the Oba of Benin says, you are not winning the state, forget it. The Oba of Benin can literally say, there's no election that is going to hold in Benin City, and that's the truth. It's like I schooled in Uniben, and I know he's God. You cannot insult the Oba of Benin in front of an average Benin man, no matter how educated. When the last Oba of Benin died, every first son shaved their head, including my friends, including professors. Like, the lecturer went and be like, you're a first son, and you're from Benin here, and you're not shaved, get out of my class. That's how much they cherish their tradition. The Oba does not even speak to you. You're considered too. He covers his mouth with a white handkerchief because you are too meager. He's God. He speaks to the Yashe. He doesn't even leave his palace. If the Oba visits you in your house, you're in trouble. So that you can't give the impact that kind of person has as a politician. Sorry, I'm taking so much time. When there was an issue between the current governor and the former governor in Edo State, everything, no matter as tough as it was solved in the palace. You could see the Oba saying, Philip, that's the deputy governor. Philip, you are my son, but you are in trouble now. And he's a whole deputy governor. Everybody was standing up with their cap. That's the amount of respect they give to the Oba. He's visiting the governor is standing under the sun to wait for him. That kind of person, you could just imagine how much power he holds, Also, but it's not the same in the East. So you might, as a politician, you might want to consider you engage religious. However, in the East, young people have a whole lot of hold because they are the ones that mobilize and follow you. In fact, they feel that the amount of persons that follow you in the as a contestant, as per young people, determines your amount of acceptance. So you see it differs. In the North, however, it's both ways. Young people and their traditional leaders. And again, majorly religious leaders. In the North, they respect their next to God. They're sheikhs, and most of the time the religious leaders also deal as the traditional leaders. For example, the Sultan of Sokoto is the head of all Muslim Ummah. If I'm contesting for elections, when I'll be contesting for elections, I would probably first of all give respect for traditional leaders, not because they might influence whatever comes out, but then I'll be seen as respectful, and people want to vote for somebody that is respectful. Secondly, then young persons. And if I really want to win elections, I'll focus on I don't want to use some words here. People that are not professionals, let me put it that way, because they're the ones that vote. I won't focus on educated persons because I've tried it before, it didn't work. I'll focus more on the market women because they vote more from my constituency. I'll focus more on Okada riders. I'll focus more on persons that are unskilled. So these things, there's no general answer. It depends on Abuja now. You can't even. And Abuja the ruling party has always won. The PDP has always won Abuja, but I think it will change now.
Why? Why do you think so?
Because of the obedient people, they will definitely. I think it might change. However, I can bank on it that the senator representing Abuja is coming back to the Senate, Senator Philip Adelila, because he understands the politics of the city. So much so that you will not see his poster on Metama, in atiku. You will see his poster in Karu, Jikoi. That's where he understands. And do you know what they call him in the Senate? Landlord. Like senators even understand. Like when he's coming like this, everybody shouts. He understands. He has been there since, and he's coming back. So I'm from the PDP, and we're banking hugely on his goodwill to see how we can chip off the blocks that we can see. But then I would admit that the obedient movement is a thing anyway.
All right, thank you so much, Gustavo. Potential candidate manifesto or specific plan of what they will do when they get to office.
Okay, I've skimmed through most of them's manifesto.
Okay.
As a concerned Nigerian, yeah. So let's answer that question as who has.
I can answer for you.
I'm still coming back.
Who has the most realistic plan? I'm not going to say atiku if you want to say atiku. I'm not going to say atiku because I don't understand how atiku is going to make 100 million Nigerians come out of poverty yearly. So that's the part. And then yes, we have about 95.1 million Nigerians that.
Have you seen Labour Party's manifesto?
Yeah, I've seen Labour's
So how realistic?
I think his plan is feasible, tackle insecurity, which is a big problem in Nigeria. And I guess where some people raise their eye because someone coming from the south tackle insecurity. But if he has a plan around it, I think.
Have you seen APC's manifesto?
Yes, I have.
So what do you think about it?
I think it's just long. That's about 80 pages of talk.
Alright, quick one. So how do you think they can streamline the manifesto or get it across to those who we said earlier that the major voters? How do you think the APC should have done or should have coined their manifesto to reach out to the grassroots?
It's awareness. Going there, yeah. You want to.
So you read 80 pages to.
No. You won't read it. Of course, you streamline it. Like there are some points I can pick. I can pick. He has security. He has women development. He has transportation, oil and gas. So many other plenty things. Security too.
Everybody.
Well, security is a general.
No, so that's like a general thing. But then there are certain things that don't affect me, but will affect the market for money. I've not seen the manifesto. I'm just saying, like.
No, like what do you think does not affect you? Because I think going through all of the manifestos, there are things that concern and are going to do.
Yeah.
80 things.
Everything.
No, it's not 80 things basically. It's just maybe explaining your trying to.
So you think now this the APC should proceed to streamline their manifesto?
Yes, I would say you make it as simple as possible. Yes, actually. So you have to ensure that your message gets to your target audience no matter what, whether in their local, if it's to transcribe it to their local languages, or at the same time, I think I like the idea of you saying that you say what speaks to you, to them particularly. So for an Okada rider, if you say, if you say, oh, you're going to do power, or this, I saw in Labour Party's manifesto, something about converting the economy to a 4IR, if I'm correct, something like that. It's up way above his head, doesn't understand what that means, right? But if somebody else comes and say, okay, rice, maybe a bag of rice now becomes slash or half of the price now, that speaks home to him, right? So it's good that there is a standard document that they all have, but everybody has the responsibility to now bring this thing down in bits and pieces and be able to share it across. That's what.
So if for instance, Mr. Abide, the APC presidential candidate engages you that, okay, can you please simplify this document? What will you do? How will you streamline it?
Well, I haven't read it right, so if I'm going to take a first crack at that, what I will do is to read through, right, and get a sense of who are the people we want to, who are the key target audience that we want to send this messages to, who are your key priority people and the key priority areas as well. Then I take that and see what really is the pain point. Maybe do a survey to know, okay, what's wrong in this area, or ask people, of course, around. And if you say, okay, here or women are being abused, so if anybody says they're supporting women, we are up in this area. I would leave other things to now pronounce women support or advocacy and sell it to that particular audience.
So I think you are mixing. Sorry.
Okay.
She just spoke about from a communications concept, not from a policy angle, right? This thing is like this, and my party's policy working document is a 74 page. Tinubu's on is 80 page, and people's obedience is 47. The truth is, right, there's a policy working document, and policy working documents are supposed to be comprehensive, no matter the language, But then when you talk of manifestos, that's when you see that even before the current government won, their policy document, I think, was in that number too. But when they wanted to send their manifestos to average Nigerian, that's when you now see billboards, 1 naira to 2 naira. That's not a manifesto.
Yeah.
It relates. It's more like the seed to this flower. This flower is the whole. Yeah. Then they start delineating it when they are voting. If they are going to the west, they can say, okay, we are, for example, ours is 5. It's continent to Nigeria and Nigerians is 5. Now those 5s are what will now delineate. Okay, you'll be able to walk or take by bus from Abuja to Kaduna without getting kidnapped. That's the thing. And that's under the security policy working document. It will definitely be delineated. But this is a policy working document. So when they go to engage international audiences, this is what they present. Now, if you want to hold them in future, this is what you bring, not the mundane. All those ones they're telling you Camilo or 50 naira. Then that's when the whole thing comes. But this is a policy working document, and I think if it's too brief, then there's a mischief in it. It should be open. That's why the U.S. Have you seen the U.S. Constitution? The Constitution of the United States. It's very brief. It's like, but our own constitution is, and it's like that because Nigerians are quite. Let the constitution state everything, how you walk, and
anything outside it.
You get it, So it's like this because my candidate tried to explain everything. Atiku, of course, tried to delineate everything word by word, and that's because we have no mischief. We want you guys to hold you by our words.
The one that is very obvious, the one that is out there, is the one we know is renewed hope for the APC. We know for Atiku, he calls himself the unifier. For Obi, the one that I know stands out is from production. From consumption to production. And
so let's stay on.
You said how does it affect their?
Yes,
it really doesn't affect anything. Let's not bamboozle ourselves. It really doesn't affect anything.
So APC saying their manifesto is renewed hope for the good people of Nigeria.
APC in 2015 they said change. In 2019 they said next level. These things are like churches' crusade tags. Yes, that is what these things seem like. And we can pick up our phones and bring out hundreds of funny church signboards, and that is how, for me, these campaign slogans are funny tags. And now that we're talking about manifesto, when it comes to the APC talking about debates, they spit on the debates. So coming to talk about manifesto is extreme hypocrisy. Because how do you get to explain your policy, or how do you get to talk about your document when you cannot sit or have conversations with people? And you want us to come and explain how you intend to get to the grassroots? See, they can pick all of us here that feels have brain and put us on the seat and pay us very well. We bring out very beautiful documents. I've done these things before. I don't know if you get. We'll do all the researches. We'll go to all the libraries and bring out very beautiful documents. But I will ask your candidate and I will ask your candidate, how do you do this? They don't know. Like you said, what Obi has is way over his head. That is because a lot of them just wants to win the election. There is a level of desperation that we have never seen in this country before. That is this desperation that we are seeing manifesting, and it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. This policy document, recently I watched Igilali on channels, right? And for me, there is nothing where Kule knows, there is nothing that will make me believe in the candidacy of Tinubu. Nothing, absolutely. But guess what? The guy was speaking, I was like, you don't mean it. You know, I was almost moved. I was even moved because as I was talking, I was jotting things down. I was like, this guy.
When was that?
I think it was last week, sometime last week, maybe Thursday or Friday. No, it was Politics Today.
Okay.
Politics Today. So you had Reno Mokri and Ingilale, you know, and he was speaking for his government, and he was also speaking as the deputy spokesperson for the Tinubu campaign. And you know, he was speaking for that is because intelligent people can be brought out to defend the rubbish of ignorant people who are going to ride on their backs into power. So if we're talking manifesto, the APC brought out very beautiful manifestos in 2015, and guess what? They denied all of them. So he said, we are going to bring these things back and use it against them. Use it against them, what are they going to do about it? They are not going to resign. That is what you have done is that they've gotten a document to get to power, and that is it. That's the end of it. You know, for me, at the end of the day, it's still going to be trust. All these people, Obi, Atiku, and Tinubu, they are still going to come and speak the language of Awolowo. It's still the Awolowo's manifesto and Awolowo's campaign plan. Light, free education, the economy, and the same everything. If you bring that 3 policy documents, when I was reading through, I felt it was a waste of time at the end of the day. Because wait a little bit. Go on.
I want you to understand the fact that we have, let's say, the party document. Let me not say it's an individual document, and I think that has been a challenge to whoever emerges. For instance, over 20 to 50 people worked on the document in 2015 for I'm just using Buhari. And you see that this guy cannot even, he does it personally. I don't think he was even part of the committee that worked on that document. No. Outside Buhari, I think most of the president candidates, that has been a major issue. So I really want you to address what do you think we can do? Is it that we should have the presidential candidate themselves speak, even if it is 2-3, you know, points, I think that you are, but you know that this is born out of your own personal convictions. Don't you think that would be much more effective than having, you know, a committee come up with a document that you yourself, you know, you can't implement?
It would be disrespectful for me to want to sit on a recruitment panel and have people submit their CVs to me and not sit before me and answer the questions that I want them to answer. It doesn't make any sense. I think as a lawyer, I would understand it in a more legislative. He's a lawyer and he's working in the Senate. So I think some of these things should not just be made passive conversations. They should be part of the system. They should be inculcated. These things should be fruits of legislation. You know, they should be part of the electoral processes. Because what you are having right now is just like military men planning coup, taking over power whether they have plan or not. And you have no reason to question them. Now that's what you have in a civilian situation. And do you know why Nigerians don't have issues with it? Because they are not strangers to these things. You wake up one morning, it's fellow Nigerians. You know, and that is what we lived through. Whether Buhari, who came and destroyed a democratic system, whether he has a plan or not, we don't have problems with that. And after going through from years, whether Babangida, who came in, has plans or not, we don't think about it. You know, so that's the system we have gotten used to. That is why we can never question it.
Thank you, Mr. Edon. I really want to actually address.
Yes, it is brilliant. They are very good. As people disparage the presidential candidate of the APC as much, I've seen him have meetings in the middle of the night and well coordinated. Like I don't like him. I cannot vote for him. But then I've seen him. You know, let's leave sentiment. The way people think these people are, they are not. They are really brilliant. If you want to really tell them or engage them, they will tell you something way better than even these things, and they will tell you how they want to do it. But then words are cheap, and policy documents are cheap. I agree. But I just want to correct the fact that when we say, oh, they don't even know what is written in their document, they don't even know this, we paint them as dummies. These people have libraries, and not just libraries they used to design. For example, I know very for sure that the last time I met the vice presidential candidate, he was sitting down in his library, sitting on the floor reading, and he's not faking, or he reads. And when if you want to counter that kind of person on policy level, he will win you. Oh, but then words are cheap. Again, for example, even Obi, his results are not the best. And so if you are looking at intellectual capacity, these people are better than him. You know, but then let's leave all that. I think what Nigerians should look for is antecedents. Somebody that has not fixed security in his own state as governor. I'm not mentioning anybody's name. How will he fix it on a larger scale? If your economy the Bible says if you do well in little, I don't, you know, if you have done well with the little that's been given to you, I believe strongly that you do well. So antecedents should matter.
So you don't think the president candidate of the APC has done well?
I'm not mentioning him. And I think antecedents here should matter, sincerely. I think why, and again, let me correct it that Nigerians now are wiser. I said it on Channels TV. Pre-2015, 2019, nobody cares about Manifestoes. Change. Now, Nigerians, in fact, I remember in Ondo when the people went to campaign, people were asking that they simplify this thing to Yoruba. So, our democracy is growing, right? Citizens now are more enlightened. They are now, when you say they won't take them up, people will take this government on, like, see what you said, and now there's social media, they will quote your words. And say, see what you said against this. The limited things that this government is because we hold them on the neck.
Let me be at your presidential candidate or your party. Have they reduced their own manifesto to? I'm aware your party released their manifesto.
Yes.
So have they reduced it to other languages outside the nation?
Yes, they're working on it by God's grace. Yeah, they will do it. No, we want to win, so we'll do it. And also, yes, now we have to do it. So I think antecedents matter. And why these people don't debate is because debate has never been proven to change anything.
Yeah. I think so.
It has never. That's never. How many people? Most people, in fact, you have more people that are absent.
So they are supporting. They are supporting most popular. They are supporting the opinion, held by most APC stalwarts. They are not going to encourage.
This is politics. You don't bring sentiment. If I'm part of APC's policy and research team, I would not encourage. I want you don't push and advertise your weakness. If I know people who leave sentiment though.
Wait, are you saying the APC candidate?
No, I'm not. I'm giving an example. That if, for example, I know that I'm going to a TV station, my candidate is going to a TV station and they are pro the opposition. I said, with due respect, sir, you're not going. Because they will ask you questions that will impinge on your character. It's like you can go into Arise TV now. So you don't advertise. This is leave sentiments. We're not going to debate. We're not doing it. We'll win. So even abroad, let's go to this client that we so much want to be like. They play when they play politics. They play politics like see how they edged this woman out, and he had to Liz Cruz, and said she couldn't meet up to this thing. If you read the backstory, you'll be surprised that these people really play dirty politics too. So politics is devoid of sentiments, and that's why Margaret Thatcher, when she was PM, she refused to identify with the feminist movement because she feels it makes her weak. In fact, she brought more laws that were against women. So if you leave sentiments when you're on the terrain, I wouldn't. If the APC said their candidate is not debating, if they have any other ways to make him win, why not? It's a game of numbers, So, and Nigerians should look at antecedents. Basically, that's it for me. If you have not doubled 1 and 2 before, how do you want to do it on a larger scale? If there's a certain CP Frank Nwafo in your state that was throwing people inside a river, and you were the chief security officer of the state when that was happening, and you said you want to fix security, what are you talking about?
Thank you so much. Precious, do you have anything to say on this?
Like he's saying, right? What antecedent are we going to use to judge Atiku by? Even Okowa, that is his running mate. We have a Delta man here. Can he be proud to say, I really want Okowa to be in power? People despise Okowa in Delta State, right? So if we are using these things, the honest truth is that everybody has a dent on their antecedents that stops them from becoming the president or the vice president. Shetima, it was in his state, he was the governor. Chibok girls, they were kidnapped. And he wants to fix insecurity in 6 months. Do you get what I'm saying? People say, oh, everybody has a dent, right? I'm not pushing aside
so the electorate should look beyond the dent.
Artisans are more than artisans.
So you should weigh. Yes, it should be weighed, right?
You should weigh
now as a person.
lesser evil. I think you should weigh competence now. Then you should go for more competence.
He said antecedent. He said antecedent. I will actually say trust. From instance, we knew that democracy is flawed. So what was done was to create a proper rule of law, proper separation and balance, so that if some proper separation of powers, so that if one person is misbehaving, the other person can check, Now in this country, what we promote is that we get somebody into the executive and his party is ruling the legislative, right? Then at the end of the day, it is difficult when he misbehaves. It's difficult to push him off. Yeah. Now, when you were saying Nigerians are smart now, they will bring these things and ask you what you did. That is the only thing they will do.
Well, if no answer, what would happen?
No, wait. Now, if this system is proper, because Nigerians have got their representatives in the house. Mm-hmm. So what Nigerians are supposed to do is to speak to their representatives. But the problem now is representatives are more loyal to their party than they are loyal to the country and the people. So when we are looking at these documents now, as we are talking antecedent and trust, somebody that have done something well can come in and become a bazooka. And there is nothing you can do about it. We have a house that we summon people from the executive and we just ignore them. And the house does not even know what to do about it. So what I'm saying is, like the old Oyo Empire, when the Alafin misbehaves, when you see that the confidence on the Alafin is not as much, you present the calabash. That is what the National Assembly is supposed to be doing.
The executive, if the Senate, for example, calls you to come, or calls the head of an agency to come, and he doesn't come, they issue a writ of arrest. Yeah. And that is sent to the IG. Who appoints the IG? The president. Who does the IG answer to? The president. If the president tells him not to arrest the person, he wants to save his job. So the constitution is defective.
But there is an act that provides for the office of the IG, which is not a document made by the executive, it's a document made by the legislature.
And let we sign it when the legislature, when the legislature brings a document, it goes to the executive for assent. Yeah. And if the president refuses that, he comes back, yes. Then his party has the highest, who would vote?
That is what I'm
now, secondly, right, I want to believe that there's something called legislative turnover. Yeah. Nigerians believe that if they elect you and you don't share money, they change you. If they elect you, you don't share money, they change you. And that is affecting us so much. It's affecting us because we are lacking experienced legislators. Yes. There are some legislators you can't bully. Yes. Because they've been there before you became president. Yes. They will tell you, Mr. President, you can't do this and that. People like David Mark, can even the president bully David Mark? No, now. But Nigerians feel, no, we don't did there 15 years. Let them, but that's not so, The more our legislator, Joe Biden was in their legislature for how many years, yeah. And that's what we should tell Nigerians, that as long as your legislator is doing well to an extent, try and return them. It's all good for our democracy because they become really.
But can we say that for most of our legislators?
No, I think the parameters by which we judge them is very wrong. You want them to provide balls, you want them to provide land, you want them to provide. It's wrong.
Even expanding the frontiers of our.
I can tell you that my own boss, for example, not because he's my boss, you know him.
Yes.
He sponsored well over, and this is not about even Bill sponsoring our motions. In fact, he has had counters with the leadership, and he has been warned so many times. But he's not coming back. Why? Because they feel, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. But then, as per legislative works, he has even had accolades as regards that. So the parameters by which we judge our legislators is very wrong. And you could imagine, I think the 10th Senate of this is the 9th Senate. The 10th Senate would have a whole lot of problems because 70% of them or 75% of them are newbies. And the legislative process is too complicated to be learnt in 4 years. They will spend most of the time pandering to the president because they don't even understand their powers. You get. So then, in the next 4 years, they don't vote for them again. We bring another set. You see where our problems is coming from. We don't have enough legislative. And then they say they should scrap National Assembly. They should do. The legislature of Nigeria has spent in the last, since independence, since the return of democracy in 1999, has not spent over 1% of the national budget. They've always apportioned less than 1% of the total national budget to the National Assembly. And the National Assembly has 7 agencies under it. So when you apportion money to the National Assembly, it doesn't go to senators. The PCC is under them, NEWT is under them, a whole lot of the National Assembly Commission and the rest of it. And they have, all these people share less than 1% of the total budget. They will come back and say they are the ones stealing money. So our problems is, it all goes back to citizens' advocacy, They need to know more.
Thank you so much. So if I may ask, where do you go for news? Perhaps to keep up with the electoral news, to see which of the candidates is more appealing to you?
So primarily, though it's interesting, it's Twitter one, and secondly, I watch Adeola Fayon's video on YouTube. Those two primarily. Then others, if I see people, I have groups where they share, like Telegram groups or WhatsApp groups, they share links, and then I go check it there. Punch.
So if you had to advise the political parties now, you advise them to build more on internet rather than going offline, social media.
Well, if they're targeting people like me,
okay,
like my age group, yes.
Okay.
I would go to check Twitter before I would take a newspaper. In fact, I don't think I've seen newspaper in 6 months, right? So yes, but if they share links, if there are community groups online, yes, that makes it easier. I think.
Okay,
yes.
as someone into communications too, I would want to ask further. So you think for people of your age group, which we are not even sure, like though they have the highest
well, maybe
registration, but we are not sure they are coming out to vote. So if
they want
to so if you think, what do you think? What we advise political parties to do? Should they do more on social media, or they should further device means to go?
Is it so that they can, if they want to win?
To reach out, to reach out.
Or to reach out.
Yes.
Or
which you
like
prefer as a comms
group,
person?
Electorate or general electorate. For the purpose of winning.
For those of winning.
They should better not reach out to us. Well, because I would say that their primary focus should not be on the average Nigerian youth who is planning to japa the next minute. In fact, some of us are registered at BBC, but let's say if we get a scholarship by December, we might leave by January.
Are you saying? I know where to come back.
I'm just saying, because I have friends and colleagues and I know what's on every.
So social media is not the best for a serious political party who intends to win.
For 2023,
yes.
I would say yes, in a sense, because most of the people that will vote, like Bumi had rightly said earlier, are those on the streets, are those in the market, just at the grassroots level. They had better reach out to them and put a lot of resources into doing flyers that they will share around, which some of us sitting in our office under AC will likely not see, right? So that should be their primary focus if they intend to win. But okay, as an addendum and just for glam or for the gram, right? You can share on social media and then we'll just retweet.
So social media should be secondary, is that what you're saying?
Yes, for 2023. Maybe in the coming years, like next 4 to 8 years, it might become a thing.
So you have not.
No, I need to ask.
Everybody does.
So who are you supporting?
Everybody does not.
Who are you supporting?
I don't have yet.
Well, now who are you supporting?
Peterobi.
Of course.
But now to answer the question, the honest truth is, so for different at different levels of your participation or campaigning. So for somebody that wants to campaign for House of Rep and all that, it has nothing to do with social media. There's no hope for you there. Let's be honest. I worked with a candidate and we got to his village and nobody knew him in his village.
Whoa.
Like that is how bad it was. Please, I don't call anybody's name. Please, he's no longer going to contest. So he's in man. But in his village, like the day we got to his village, the next morning we were leaving his village. I think I could count how many posters of him he had in his village. Like they were not 10. In his own community, the only place that had a lot of posters was his house in his village. But then he had somebody he was banking on to help him. And when we got to that person's village, everybody knew his name, at least, even if they don't know the person. You know, they knew his name because this person was supporting him and this person is very influential. So I think it could also boil down to your mode of communicating to people or reaching out to people could also boil down to town hall meetings. There's a candidate I worked with, she's contesting in Ekiti State, Ikare or something. And her mode of communicating with her people is town hall meetings. Once she goes there, they hold a town hall meeting and she says what she wants to say. You know,
so you agree, that means you agree with the president candidate that has been holding town hall meetings lately. You know, their campaign has not started officially, but it has been, holding strategic meetings.
So for presidential candidates, yes, you have to explore all of them.
Okay.
That's why I said, depending on where you're going.
Town meetings is for urban areas that is doing.
Like I said, everybody has their own strategy. All right, so please, we are running off.
All right. For the candidate of the APC, right, I think he's really experienced. Right? He's not just experienced, he knows how to talent hunt. He picks the best brains for everything, And as a leader, I think he's done well for himself. However, I think the position goes beyond somebody that has it up there. I think for we do not hand over a sick nation to a sick person.
I thought they said one word.
Oh, sorry.
No, let him express himself. He might not have, opportunity to say this again. So let him just say.
So then, beyond that, I think and on his own, you've seen persons he's helped, you've seen things that he said he's done, but I differ on the idea of Lagos being used as a poster. I think that thing will hurt him more than, for me. I've been to Lagos most of the time and I can't even stay in Lagos for more than 5 years. So also, I believe that the Muslim ticket is a thing and it would have far-reaching impacts on the country, so I do not support it. Not because I am a fanatic, but I think it's let's not just go deep into that. For the candidate of the Labour Party.
So when you talk about the Muslim ticket, are you coming from the religious aspect or the electoral aspect or the economic aspect?
Now I'm coming from
because if you say
from the sensitivity aspect, in that we have major religions in this country, and are we saying we don't have Christians that are smart enough to be a vice president? It's not in the constitution, fine, but are the other presidential candidates that pick a diverse person as their vice presidential candidate stupid? They picked them because they have some form of recon with the sensibility of Nigerians.
And you don't think they consider the electoral vice?
No, that's politics, right? That's why. Are you saying there's nobody in the old northern Nigeria?
No, I'm not saying.
I'm asking you again. That has value and that can add value to the campaign. Are you saying that?
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's what.
It'll be.
All right.
I think for me, 3 things is what I used to pick leaders: courage, capacity, and competence. It's got competence. It's competent. I think it's competent. He has managed businesses, not even in government. Capacity. The presidency is not an hockey ball pitch. You don't learn on the job. It's not where you start paraphrasing. And General Babinda said something, that the president of Nigeria will be somebody that has an handshake across the Niger. If you really want to unite this country, you must have at least a friend. And when they say a friend, it means somebody of note in every state of the federation. You'll be surprised the sensibilities and the mentality of some persons if you go to some states. And I do not think he has that. With all due respect, because he's a good man, fine. But then you'd have to go beyond your region to extend it. And this is not something you do in a year. Over the years, this is something you should have built. For me, I would mention names. Jews or Kalu in the East has that. I won't support him for presidency if he wants to contest. But I'm giving an example. Somebody that is accepted across board, It's when you are accepted that you call security. You understand the politics in Nigerian National Assembly, for example. Even the politics of language. It's their offices, even as a senator, you won't enter if you don't hear that language. And I'm not saying you must hear the language, right? But there's a way you cut friends. How do you think Chetima is able to enter into Yoruba land? Even Yoruba Obas take them as king, take him as a son. Because growing up, he has fought some form of alliance that is really tough with them. And that's one thing I have issues with him against. If you really want to unify this country, we must have an handshake across the Niger.
All right, thank you so much.
My candidate.
Please, in 2 sentences. We know you are supporting that.
Yes.
So please, just in 2 sentences, please.
What Nigeria needs now is not a saint. No country. Yes, it's the truth. No country. Donald Trump has done some very. Imagine a presidential candidate saying words like "grab them by the." You know. Imagine a presidential candidate patronizing hoes, but he worked. Politics is totally different from sentiment anywhere in the world. Morality is not it at all. You need somebody that has a proven image of competence, though not a saint, but can deliver. When you want to do a surgery, you don't ask if your doctor is a drunk or if he sleeps with women. Is he competent? And if they say he's competent, in fact, I've been to schools or I've seen classes where the best student is a smoker. But it's the best student. So I believe that though not the same, my candidate is the most competent of all of them and the most fit.
The honor should is the office of the Vice President of Nigeria is, I don't want to use the word a dummy position.
He was president of the economy, was chairman of the economic team.
Sorry.
I have to be saying it so that I don't know if I will have comebacks.
Right. I think the most working vice president we've had in Nigeria is Osibanjo. Like they gave him positions to do things that did not even show. But we knew he was working. We saw he was going places, but they did not show.
Doing condolence is not the same thing as working.
That's what I said.
You are supposed to stick to your 3 words.
Atiku remains the most versatile vice president.
Just 3 words. Let's explain.
Okay, so for me, I would say Atiku's claim of being the unifier is we should just bluff that, because
Please, let's move to
we've seen news from him that did not unify anything, right? So for Tinubu, yes, Tinubu is experienced, right? He has helped a lot of people into government, but like he said, you can't give a sick country to a sick man. I don't even think Tinubu will make it past 2025. I'm not wishing him dead.
So you think he's that weak? You think he's really sick and he can't do the affairs of the country?
There's no it will weigh him down, right? It will weigh him down.
But Buhari survived. Buhari survived.
At some point they claimed that they changed him and he came back. So for me, for Peter Obi, he also lacks that alliance across boards, right? Nigeria, like I said, you have to get a grip across and Peter Obi lacks that in a way. Peter Obi, I also feel like it was too rushed, but based on competence, based on character, competence and character, right? I think Peter Obi is the best person to lead Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
Let me start with Tinubu. Old, sick, experienced. Who is the next person? Peter Obi. Peter Obi, optimistic.
Old too.
No, that's not old. Optimistic.
61.
Determined. What's that word?
Determined.
Yes, determined. He wants to rule
It
Nigeria.
was 8 years at the government.
I can't remember the last one I wanted to say.
Competent.
It's not competent. It's the lack of structure.
Okay.
Yeah, lack of structure.
What people say, this man is at the structure.
What is you people? She says.
For the last guy, that's Atiku, right? Atiku is resilient. I mean,
Very.
I've tried to say so many times. Resilient, onshore, because I mean the party is in shambles.
So that makes him unsure.
Yes, it's onshore now. You call yourself a unifier.
You
You call yourself a unifier, and your house is not.
It's on fire.
It's on fire. I mean, onshore. Let me stay with that. Then for my candidate, I don't have a candidate.
No,
yet.
you have to. If
Right
you
now.
actually want to
Don't worry.
make the country
I know I will vote
well,
that
okay.
day. On that day, I will vote.
Okay, so Tinubu, I would say 1 is aged. 2 is experienced, and maybe 3 years is given to human capital development, right? Then for Peter Obi is optimistic. I would use the same word. Also, I don't know. See, optimistic means like a believer, right? He feels. Then I think he's able to pull the crowd or like he has sweet words or sweet mouth. That's like the smooth talker. Then so a smooth talker, yes, sometimes tells a lie in between, but then maybe a third point would be for him. It's also old. None of them is young, to be honest. Then Atiku, right? Atiku, yes, says resilient because we're trying to come back, but at the same time, too, we can't blame him 100% for what's going on in his party. He needs to show that his house is in order in a sense. So, then what else about Atiku? I'm not sure, but people don't have
strong
good.
will. You cannot.
No, I don't perceive him as strong-willed, but what I see is that people still think, or even his own president didn't have good words, put in good words for him for government. Then, who am I going to vote for? Who am I likely going to vote for? Well, I'm more tuned towards Atiku, sorry. Because for Tinubu, I don't approve the Muslim ticket thing because of sentiment. While it's true that it's not in the constitution that you should not, you must choose something from the same religion, with what is going on now, the sensitivity is very high. I don't think you should be inconsiderate and just disregard that people also have this pain point, and you should reflect in your decision, right? Then for Peter Obi, I think, like I said, he's a smooth talker, and like she also said, maybe the structures are not that strong, and it doesn't have.
Let him come back to the PD.
Well,
So if I get you right, if Tinubu had picked perhaps a Christian, perhaps you might have supported.
No, it will not be.
No, let me be sure, because that's the only reason why you said Christian matters. Do you understand?
Well, yes.
Why don't you want that to support Atiku?
I'm asking a question. I'm not like I'm asking. I just want to get that.
Yes,
so if Tinubu had picked a Christian.
Yes, why I like Shettima and I know that Shettima is brilliant. I just feel the two match is not a great match.
Okay, so you are not against Tinubu because of his competence, like you rightly said earlier. So you are just.
No, I never said he wasn't competent.
No, that's what I'm saying. You agree that he's competent to rule, but the fact that he picked a Muslim, so that's the only issue you have.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
I have one word to describe 3 of them, not 3 words each.
Okay.
For Tinubu,
Yeah.
I would say he's very bold. He's the only one that actually has been in the villa, and yeah, he has experience in government, customs, business. You understand this? Yeah, he's really experienced. But experience does not. You have some of the most experienced drivers in Abuja driving nonsense. So experience does not necessarily mean you're a good person. It takes more. For Peter Obi, I would say he's motivated. You see, the thing is that, I'm sorry to say, but Nigerians are gullible. The same ginger Peter Obi has now is the same ginger Buhari came with in 2015. Nigerians just want to go for the lesser evil. Okay, they'll look at this one, this one has been in government, look at this one, okay, let's pick this one. It's not like as if he's necessarily the best. After all, he came out from PDP. Do you understand? So he's just the lesser evil, but he's very, very motivated. He comes up like somebody that can carry the whole of Nigeria on his head and be going, you understand? So yeah, for who I'm going to vote for, these 2023 elections will be the most dicey elections Nigeria has ever had, because even up until now, nobody really knows who. You know, before you could stand from 1 year before, a couple of months before, and say, okay, this person will win, this person will win. But now everybody is under pressure. But personally, I don't speak.
If you had to go to the poll today, who will you vote for?
I don't speak to the press.
I'll start with Peter Obi. Peter Obi, for me, I feel he's daring. I mean, we've seen all the things, or rather, we've read all the things he said he wants to do for Nigeria, and how much he has put in to prove to us that he can do it. Which is one, he's competent based on his track records from his states and all of the things he's been managing so far. And I feel he's also hardworking. I mean, he's one of the candidates I've noticed has been working hard. On social media, I keep seeing his pictures everywhere. He's going to that state, he's traveling to that country. He's making so much effort to proved to us that he got there. So I feel he's hardworking. And then the other candidate, Tinubu, I mean, I've heard someone speak so much about him, and he almost convinced me. He's batified, but I stood my ground, being obedient. So, but then I'm not someone that is very close-minded. I learned from what he told me that day, and I felt somehow that this man is actually experienced, and I believe he has good concerns for Nigeria. However, he's not strong enough for Nigeria. Nigeria is too much. They mean the hole that our leaders have dug in Nigeria will take like 1 million men to fill. So you can't just come and say, oh, I can do this with the frail strength you have. Please forgive my language. So I feel he's also desperate, because his current slogan, Emilocon, shows that it is his time to rule. So we don't do leadership by it's my turn, it's by your competence. So he's experienced, yes, and frail too, and desperate. And then for
are you aware that other countries, there's some other countries with aged
that's their country. This is my country.
No, I'm just asking.
This is my country. I'm not just.
Moderator is descending into the arena.
I'm telling you. I'm just asking question. All right.
I'm more concerned about my country. And then Atiku, I mean, from his name, articulated, but I don't seem to see that articulation in his party. There's a lot of uproar in his party, and it has been dragging for a long time, and it doesn't tell well on his part as an emerging leader. If you don't organize your house, how then are you going to organize a full nation like this? So he's not articulated. But when it comes to experience, I would give it to him. He has the experience. He has a lot of experience that most of the candidates do not have. And I also feel he's one of the leaders that is decentralized. He's not for the Hausas, it's just for everybody. So yes, now that's what I'm saying. So these are the 3 words I would use to describe these 3 candidates. And my candidate is peterobi.
For Tinubu is dangerously feudalistic. He's extremely nepotic, and is old. For Atiku, so he's extremely capitalistic, is unstable. Okay, I think that will be all for me and Atiku. Then for peterobi, I'll say is altruistic, I'm a nationalist. I'm a nationalist, and I would say for every young Nigerian here, it is the benefit of Nigeria. Because I don't want to start talking about competence, capacity, and all of that. I want to talk about equity, justice, and nationalism, right? It is necessary that this happen in this particular time, because if it doesn't happen, we don't have any reason to cry justice in this country. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you so much, guys. How do you foresee Nigeria under the administration of Obi, Atiku, and Tinubu?
High cost in governance, right? I think that's the one thing I can push out there.
I think you can achieve that solely without the National Assembly.
There is no way you can achieve anything solely. What happens is the will. When Buhari came into power, people were crying out his body language. People were reading his body language to do everything in the country. And he wasn't saying anything, but people were doing things for him based on his body language. So it has to do with the will. For Tinubu, like I said, is a feudalistic human being, and the feudalism is going to continue. So we're not going to have some level of democracy in this country. Is a feudal lord, and that is what we are going to see manifested in the country. For Atiku, his desperation is scary, but I think Nigeria rides on the shoulders of the private sector. Capitalism will work a little bit for Nigeria, So that's what.
So much.
I think Tinubu will be president and not president, being that he will be the president, but then there will be president at the back because of his ill health and all that. There is so much he can do. So you have so many persons that would mal around the villa that take decisions and not the president, which is quite terrible. I think for the first time in the country we'll have a president that is not respected. And I can tell you that for free. There was a time at the National Assembly where the president is coming and you don't see the normal fanfare. You have to not just be the president, you have to have the gate of the president, you have to have what do they call this thing? The demeanor and candor of the president and all that. I do not think he has that yet. I do not think he has people that would respect him enough to not scheme behind his backs to find a way to let him go. So I think we have a very unstable country, a very, very unstable country. And this is to tell you about the security issue, the military is there and all that. We're still growing as a democracy. I think him being there now would have a very unstable democracy. And for Atiku, like he said, Atiku is the one that should actually be talking about from consumption to production, because he has done that. Not just that, like he said, I wouldn't say it's capitalistic, but he has a very robust relationship with the private sector, and that would work for this country. His international networks is also great because he has it across the country. None of these persons have it as him. So I think Atiku will really increase. The economy will have a massive turnaround.
What will happen in 2023 is all these our conversations and all will not primarily have a direct effect in a sense. But I think what we should be thinking about, like as young people, is the next 4 years or next 8 years, right? What will become of this country? We are saying OB is cool and all of that, but someone also said here that if he had started earlier, if he had been better prepared, it would have made it. So I hope we don't get to 2027 or the next 4 years after that to now start having this kind of conversation and be unsure of who is likely going to win. So it's just to put it out there that I think primarily for me, what will solve this issue or make it better, right, will be reorientation of the Nigerian electorate. Let them be aware of these things. Let them know what we should look out for in any leader and how best to hold them accountable even when they make promises. Like we are all saying, the manifesto, the policy document. As a comms person, I will just tell to you the message you are likely going to hear and buy. But will that mean what I will actually do? Well, if it's a means to an end, not necessarily, right? But at least I've gotten what I wanted from you. So that Nigerians will not keep being used over and over again, especially when it's election period. So it's important to let Nigerians know, what do we really want from the government? Do we really want our country to be improved, to be honest, or we just want a government that will be giving us money and say, there's money in town, yes, our pockets are full. If we really ask ourselves this question, most times most people just want someone that's going to give them money and they're offering. So if we have these questions, ruminate on these questions in our mind and then have a clear blueprint, even if we want to start a new party from today, all these points, all the loopholes we've identified amongst the three parties, how can we ensure that we also have footprint across the nation, right? How can we ensure that we have international connections? How can we ensure that we have actual solutions to Nigerians' problem? And how do we want to do it? Problem solve, like brainstorm and say, okay, this first, then this first, and put timelines to it. That's when it will actually make sense, and then we'll move. If not, in the next 4 years, we'll come and do all this again, move on, do this again, and we are really not going anywhere.
And this question or suggestion is in respect of peterobi because he's the one that everybody is hyped up about now. Where you have a president that is in a certain party and politics is grassroots, and then the Senate is divided. The Senate is divided between, like, say, a president in Labour Party. Senate is divided between PDP and APC. House of Reps, House of Assembly, councillors. Do you understand? The whole trickle down. Now the central government is Labour Party, and then the link between that central government to the grassroots has no synergy between. Do you understand? How does that work? I'm just asking. How is that supposed to work? Like how, for example, if that happens per se, how is that going to move Nigeria forward? Because an average Nigerian would never have the link to meet the president one-on-one. His access to government is through his state house member or his ward leader or his councillor. So where there is, I don't know how to put it, but you guys
I get your point. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming to Adekunle Stop Line. I really appreciate you guys. See you guys some other time. Do have a lovely evening. Thank you. Thank you for watching today's episode. I'm sure you've learned one or two from my viewers, my friends that came around today for the talk show. And also, I want to indulge every of the electorate to go back, study the manifesto of the political parties and also decide for yourself who you think should lead Nigeria by next year, 2023. Thank you. And also, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe and share this video with your friends. Thank you. See